Ying's storyline has a little bit of a different spin to it than Lijin. She comes from a more aristocratic setting in Hong Kong. And she also, how she got involved in Rainbow is she got in a car accident and got into martial arts for rehabilitation. And through her training, she trained in an all-female unit in Tel Aviv, Israel, where she met, of course, Ash. And she went on a few missions with Ash and Fuse. And one funny thing that the creative team has written into her backstory is that she just really hates Fuse. And that is kind of a direct counter to her non-lethal gadget. It's sort of like a non-lethal Fuse gadget. Is that right?
In a way, yeah, but it's a little bit more complex than that, but the idea behind it is close to that. She does have this weird relationship with our beloved Fuse. She considers him a questionable asset for his disregard of civilian life. And her gadget, the Candela, the idea with that is to have like a strong pusher, but also want to have lots of creativity to the player in the way you use this. And synchronized assault is really the name of the game here.
So how does she deploy these Candelas? How is it different from Fuse?
The first way to deploy those things is you can toss them into a room and it will release a lot of flashbangs, flashing the entire room. The area is really, really big. On top of that, she's immune to her own flashes, so she can push right behind the flash.
So right there in the video asset that you're seeing right there that you just saw, she threw the Candela into the room, flashed all the enemies, and she was able to stay ADSing without getting blinded.
She's not affected.
Yeah, is she affected by other flashbangs?
Yes, she is affected by the regular flashbang, but her own device won't affect her.
That's really, really cool. So what are other ways that she can deploy this?
Well, you have other ways you can deploy this the way you would do with Fuse cluster charge on a wall. You can add a timer to that thing to add a certain delay between the plant of the device and the way it releases flashbangs. And then you can push from another way, or have your teammate push from somewhere. You can plant this on floors as well to do the same thing. It's really interesting.
That's really interesting. So not only is there different ways of deploying it, but there's also a timing mechanism to it that allows the player playing as Ying to really have a little bit of a granularity with her gadget. And that comes into play with the other way that she can deploy this gadget. Is that right?
Yes, the third way. If you use this timer and toss it on the ground, this device will roll off the floor, follow walls, get underneath barricades or drone holes, and flash the entire room on the other side. And this is where the team coordination comes into play. You have to time your timer, coordinate with your teammate to make sure that they can enter the room as soon as everyone is flashed and clear the room.
That's really cool. As you can see in that video, there was she cranked up her gadget, rolled it on the ground, and it hit the wall, followed the wall, and it went into the drone hole. So it will follow pretty much any wall surface that you actually deploy it on, really. And it can obviously then roll under barricaded doors, castle doors, etc. So really cool gadget. Now let's take a look at her loadout as well. Why don't you run us through it?
Well, she's also 2-speed, 2 armor. And in terms of primary weapons, she has access to the same shotgun, but without the silencer. And she also has access to a big LMG with like 80 bullets. So you can flash the room, and you have more than enough bullets in one mag to kill a 5-man team.
So just flash the whole room and spray and pray, but you don't really have to pray.
You don't really have to pray when it's flashed.
That's really cool. So what about her secondary gadgets?
As for secondary gadgets, she has access to Claymore, which is very classic in terms of how you can strategize to cover your flanks, but also to a smoke grenade. The new smoke grenade that you guys mentioned earlier in the elf panel are really awesome. You can toss this thing and roll your Candela underneath this.
How does she interact with other operators?
Well, interaction are very classic. You have, first you can, well, interestingly, you can shoot those things. If you roll them on the floor and you see it entering the room, try to shoot it. That way we'll get rid of the entire Candela right away. You can also...